I want to own property, and I know a large number of us do. But the truth is, with how prices are these days, the closest we ever get to our dream homes is taking these kinds of quizzes on BuzzFeed that let you design your dream house in 7 steps and will tell you where to move. Apparently, if I want my dream house, I need to move to Los Angeles. And I personally don't think you should need to move to another continent to get your dream home, no matter how close it gets you to Chris Hemsworth.
Australia.
He lives in Australia? Well, son of a... In all seriousness though, the middle class difficulty in buying property is a serious problem. And yet it seems there is a never-ending stream of up-and-coming developments no matter where you look. Hence why it wasn't a surprise to any of us when Bank Negara released its report about how imbalances in the property market could have devastating impact on the economy in the event of a shock. In particular, high-rise condos, office spaces and retail malls. Anecdotally, we could have already told you that already lah. Nobody needs that many H&Ms, quite frankly. And according to this story, even the National Property Information Centre has been sounding the alarm bell since 2015. To the government's credit, the move to address that was swift. Over the weekend, MOF2 Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani announced an indefinite freeze on luxury developments until this imbalance is addressed. What is not to their credit is the U-turn Works Minister Datuk Sri Fadila Yusof did hours later, saying it would be some properties, not all. And then Johari said the day after, yes, it was for all. You know what doing 2 U-turns means though, right? Basically that you have been running in circles. Do these guys not have a WhatsApp group or something, or have they put them all on mute because someone keeps forwarding them fake news like a particularly paranoid auntie? Chasing your tail aside, the truth is, although this ban is good, to the average Malaysian, it may not mean a lot. Because what makes you think that if I couldn't afford a $1 million apartment, why would a $900,000 one be any different? Or even a 500,000 ringgit one for that matter, when starting salaries continue to hover around the 2,000 ringgit mark. I think it would be worth to examine how it is that we got here. Was it simple overestimation, greed, unfettered optimism, or a mixture of all three? And after all that, are we actually in a bubble that no one acknowledges? Think Tank Ideas seems to think so. Fellow Carmelo Ferlito said back in August that the high number of unsold properties is a side effect of this bubble. He said it was caused by 2 specific economic dynamics, a natural business cycle and intervention by authorities. Simply put, post-2008 crisis, the property market was expected to boom, which made more people want to go in, which then also drove up the cost of construction. Low interest rates by Bank Negara then perpetuated the situation. But then you have those saying that the talk of being in a bubble is exaggerated. Let me let you in on a little secret. Economists sometimes can't agree on what a bubble actually is. Bubbles are often created when asset prices are way above a certain benchmark, and what that benchmark is can change. Yes, while there are certain fundamentals that everyone does kind of agree on, you could argue that you could base the metric on Chan here and how many houses he buys a month. Like being an addict though, acknowledging that you have a problem is the first step. And for property developers who have other masters to serve, resubmitting plans and changing costs is sometimes way too painful to admit you have to do. And it's easier to admit that there's still demand for luxury. The truth is though, when the bubble does pop, it is often violent and painful, and in most cases leads to severe recession because your asset price drops and your loan becomes a burden you can't shoulder. So, how do we solve this? This luxury ban is a start, but it needs to go beyond just KL and look into property markets in Penang, and especially Johor, where strict restrictions in China have meant that the flood of buyers you thought was coming has been dammed. Ultimately though, there must be a will to actually want to clear this overhang, and this systematic flip-flopping on regulation needs to really stop. Affordable housing is of course one of the key developments to ensure that people get homes, and there have been initiatives for that. Prima and the promise of 10,000 more homes in Budget 2018. Even private developers are saying that there will be more of those developments. You can't ignore supply-side issues either. While it's nice to have 6.2% GDP growth, it doesn't make day-to-day living any easier. Better loans and pay rises for civil servants does help, but the rest of us also need a better economy so our wages catch up. If something doesn't course correct, eventually the closest that we will ever get to our dream homes are quizzes like this. And I really don't want to move, no matter how close it gets me to Tom Hiddleston. Just saying.
London lah.
Tom Hiddleston lives in London. Oh, what the